Count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty.
Don't get me wrong.
So ladies and gentlemen, Laken Riley's murderer was found guilty on all counts. All of them. But then again, as usual, bada beam boom bash, ABC has something interesting to say. It was unhinged and very disrespectful. Now, respectfully, let's hail the whole verdict.
Ibarra, illegal alien, accused of killing Laken Riley. Hearing the verdict now. Let's watch.
3. Count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 3, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 4, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 5, kidnapping with bodily injury. I find the defendant guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault with intent to rape. I find the defendant guilty. Count 7, aggravated battery. I find the defendant guilty. Count 8, obstructing or hindering a 911 call. I find the defendant guilty. Count 9, tampering with evidence. I find the defendant guilty. Count 10, peeping Tom. I find the defendant guilty.
A lot of people are happy, guilty on everything. But the thing is, a lot of people wished that he was deleted. But the thing is, the murderer is going for life for a very long time, no parole. But then ABC, where you can watch The View if you enjoy The View, is going to blame Trump for this. And I'm like, how can you blame Trump for this?
This death of Laken Riley and the subsequent trial has essentially been a massive political lightning rod here in this country. And you said it there yourself, the president-elect campaigning on the death of Laken Riley and pointing to the current administration, saying that their laws and what they're calling failed policies contributed to Laken Riley's death.
Trump is saying that? Or the family? Or the numbers? Or the result? Or the hidden statistic that FBI didn't want to show? I mean, bro, what is that? It's like, yo, man, somebody passed away. Oh, well, don't worry about it. More people are being born anyway. What is that response at that moment? I don't care if you're legal or illegal. If you come from another country and something bad happens, for that person, I would say, I want more security. Your response is, well, in our own country, people do the same. That doesn't, you don't change my opinion like that. You can be like, hey, there's a bad stuff, here's a good stuff, it's okay. No, stop the bad stuff. I don't care about the good stuff in my life.
I want to remind you that Ibarra entered this country illegally in 2022, according to law enforcement officials, and he was paroled and released for further processing by ICE. And since that time he entered the country, he was arrested another time. Law enforcement officers saying that he was arrested in 2023 in New York City and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17, as well as a motor vehicle violation. But it's important to note that although there is very little evidence indicating a connection between immigration and violent crime.
And that is why I need to stop the video right now and remind you that is why the majority of the people voted different and they kind of hate your channel too. Because you're lying. First of all, the FBI admitted we hid information from the biggest county that are still counting the crime. So it seems nothing was happening. So officially, they were lying. That is number one. And secondly, a lot of crime isn't even bad crime. So they don't even take it seriously. So you don't see it counting because they're like, well, we're just gonna arrest them and release them. So maybe we need to find a different solution. So you don't really get the statistic like back in the day. If you rob something, hey, arrested, prison. It doesn't exist like that back in the day. So the statistic reflect crime is low because nobody commits the crime that is bad. As if that doesn't incentivize somebody that did one thing, it can lead to something very bad. Nah, they're not gonna be empowered. The idea that you think people are that stupid, but the result is going in a bad way, and you wanna lie about it? I'm like, miss me with that, man. Miss me. That is so disingenuous. It's even wilder when people say, hey, we can't deport him. I'm like, what? Well, if we deport him back, he's going to be in a bad situation. He's already here. So it's our responsibility. Okay, That's like somebody drop off a kid that used to beat their kids in my house and be like, you can send him back because if you send the kid back, I'm gonna swap him. I'm like, and if I force it's the kid has human right. Keep it in your... It bothers me so much.
This is still something the President-elect Trump, several Republicans on the Hill wanted to essentially plant their flag on and point that to the current Biden administration. And we saw that even as early as President Biden's latest State of the Union address, where Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene infamously interrupted President Biden, forcing him to acknowledge the death of Laken Riley, something that President Biden did by holding up a pin in her during that State of the Union.
Don't you find it suspicious that somebody had to force you to address something, but many times when something happened on alphabet community, the first moment you appear, you address it immediately? People notice that. That's a little wild. The fact that this guy came with a hoodie ready, with gloves so he doesn't leave a fingerprint, go out looking for people, found a person jogging, already tired, had a battle for 18 minutes. He managed to remove the glove, press a finger because she was trying to call the 911, and he stopped that because, yeah, you heard them.
Obstructing or hindering a 911 call.
And he left a fingerprint. And because of that fingerprint on the phone, they found him. Isn't that wild? The fact that she fought for 18 minutes. I mean, people are gonna talk about that, right? It matters. But the whole idea that you say it doesn't matter, not everybody else is like that, but we're going to do something about it. I'm like, how? More security in the country? You can't even arrest them. More security at the border? No, you keep inviting them. There comes a point I'm like, what are you doing? This is not that I'm trying to be even funny. I'm just so frustrated. You heard the verdict. Even if you say it's one case, the idea that you don't even know who is coming in should make you worry. Even if it's just one. You have to be... Come on, man. This actually makes me weak inside. But I'm not allowed to show anger because immediately everybody's right to point the finger. You don't like... I mean, shut up, man. So here you have the left. Venezuela national found guilty of murder in Laken Riley trial. Jose Ibarra, an undocumented immigrant, was accused of killing a University of Georgia nursing student in the trial that Republicans made a flashpoint on immigration. And now to the right. Illegal immigrant convicted of killing Laken Riley sentenced to life in prison without parole. The illegal immigrant convicted in the killing of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jose Ibarra was charged with murder and other crimes in Riley's February death, and the guilty verdict was reached on Wednesday by Athens, Clark County, support bam boom, a bunch of names, but you get my point. They provide way more detail. And that's why I like Ground News, because it shows you the biases of the people and you can clearly see which one is playing defensive.
It's important to note that all of this vitriol that we're hearing from Republicans and President-elect Trump regarding the policies of the Biden administration, it's important to know that President-elect Trump did force Republicans to essentially tank a bipartisan border security bill that both sides of the aisle said would have essentially addressed border security and immigration issues.
And you might say Republicans is trying to capitalize on this. Yeah, it might be true. On the left side, they also capitalize on things because somebody is doing snippety snip if I don't use specific pronouns, right? And second of all, when people say a bill, it's not just a bill. It's two people agreeing what's going to be in that bill. It's like, I want a hamburger, but the other side says, well, I don't want it with onion, ketchup, bada bim bam boom. Guess what? You know what that onion and ketchup bada bim bam boom is? They said, well, okay, we'll block the wall, but 2 million illegals are allowed to come in. I don't even want to negotiate how you want to filter it anymore. Because the way the 2 million are coming in, you normalize it as if more people ain't gonna come.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Dur loqueta verdetta welcome.